Knicks family, what's poppin'? It's your boy. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the playoffs, well, they're not here yet, but they're just about here. At least for the New York Knicks, they're just about here. You know, you got the play-in tournament still going on right now, but we're going to go ahead and break this thing down and really get in depth into some things. Today, we're going to focus on the matchup itself, talk about some lineups and rotations, some adjustments to the lineups that could possibly happen or could not happen, or what we think should happen. We're going to get into all of that today, ladies and gentlemen. So hold on tight to your seat. I hope you got your tickets today. I know, there were people waiting in line virtually to buy their tickets. The playoff tickets went on sale today. So I hope you got yours. If not, I'm pretty sure Legion of the Knicks is going to be there to call the game for you. So you don't have nothing to worry about. You catch it anyway. Let's go ahead and get to the panel we got here today. We got Cornerstone Cool Breeze with the shades on. We got Legion of the Knicks, Steph, and Nate in the building today. Cornerstone, what's poppin' with you, brother? How you feeling?
Hey, everything's everything. AK Star Child here, ready to get the funk down with this commentary right here. Salute to the chat. Salute to my brothers and sisters on the panel. Again, Sim, congratulations for you doing your Knicks playoff series. This is your first one, so we're gonna hopefully our boys can make it count. And we just ready. And salute to all the fans of the Knicks. We in the playoffs, so let's get it going.
Yeah, man. I'm definitely looking forward to, I don't know if I'm going to be calling any games, but just, doing some post games, all of that stuff. I'm just looking forward to it. G-Mo, what's going on, man?
Absolutely.
Hey, man. Salute to you guys, man. Yes, congrats, Sim. This is your first playoffs through all the terrible years that you've covered. For the Knicks, man, definitely seems like a treat to finally be able to call some or analyze, break down some playoff games. So to everybody on the panel, this should be fun. Yeah, let's get to it. Let's do it.
Yeah, Steph, how you doing today?
Did you say Steph?
Yeah.
Oh, we're not. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Shout out to Sam, the panel, the chat. I was fixing my my headphones. Looking forward, to this panel today. I looked and I see you got it lined up today, tomorrow, and I think Friday as well. So I'm looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing the Knicks Sunday, and looking forward to this discussion tonight.
Yeah. Let's get it. And Nate,
what's up, man? How y'all doing? Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, the Knicks have overexceeded my expectations this year, more so than anything I expected. So everything else is just gravy. So hey, man, just let it rock.
Okay. I mean, once you get that fourth seed, there's a little, there's some expectations once you get that fourth seed.
Whatever happens, man.
There's some expectations, and I'm pretty sure that the team
they did their job.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the team has some expectations for themselves, and they're going to be planning and preparing to try to come away with the victory in this series. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
It's
I'm just
not
saying,
going
as
to
a
be
fan, we shouldn't.
We should what?
No, I'm just saying, as a fan, we shouldn't be disappointed if whatever happens. I mean, they did more than what we expected this year, and the future's bright. So, yeah, we want them to win this series. Yeah, we want them to go on the second series. But like I said, as Knicks fans, we should not be disappointed wherever the outcome is, because they played their hearts out this year. They played hard. The Tips got the most out of these players, and I couldn't be more proud for this team.
Okay, well, you know what? It's going to happen. People are going to be disappointed if they lose. I'm going to be disappointed if they lose. You know what I mean? But let's go ahead and let's get into it and break it down, because we had a whole big discussion on that. Let's start. We'll start just by looking at the season series between these two teams. All right, and I know it doesn't mean much because it's a whole new beast once we get to the playoffs. but this is all we have to go on right now, is what they did against each other during the regular season. So when you look at the regular season, the Knicks won the series, of course. All right. They played them the last time. The first one, we'll start with the first time. The first game, they played them in Atlanta. They beat them 113. The Knicks won the game 113 to 108. Second game, they played them at Madison Square Garden. That was February the 15th. The Knicks beat them 123 to 112. And then in April, at Madison Square Garden, the Knicks beat them 137 to 127. Now, it's hard to take much from these games because both teams dealt with injuries throughout the season, especially the Atlanta Hawks. Early in the season, there were a lot of injuries. They were dealing with a lot of injuries. They had a rough start getting going, in the beginning of the season, which prompted a coaching change, midway through the season. And Nate McMillan came in and, really changed the energy around the team and the way that they play defensively. They play harder, it seems to me. And they've been a strong team down the stretch of the season. So these games don't really mean much as far as the playoffs are concerned. But you can look and as we get further into these videos, we're going to break down what we've seen the Hawks do, what we've seen the Knicks do, things that we think will work against the Atlanta Hawks and things that we've got to defend against versus the Atlanta Hawks. And it's all going to be based on things that we've seen during the regular season. All right. Before we get into any stats or anything like that, any comments that you want to make just about these three games that the Knicks and Hawks played? Kev, I'll start with you.
Yeah, the only constant out of these three games was that Randle was a beast in all three. So it's going to be interesting to see how they defend Randle. Trae Young was getting his as well. So it's going to be interesting how we handle him. Do we double team? What are we going to do? And the two players that I'm really, have concerns about for Atlanta is Hunter and Reddish, because those guys in the first game really, was taking it to us. Luckily, we were able to win the game, but they were really taking it to us. So out of those guys, and you can sprinkle in Gallinari. Those two guys are the ones that I fear the most, more than I do Trae Young. So it's that supporting cast that I'm really concerned about. But other than that, I know Tibbs is going to have a great game plan. They were joking on Twitter that he was up around 3 a.m., up until 3 a.m., devising something while eating pizza. So he's going to have something for him. Tibbs is that dude. He's that coach. So that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't put it past them being up 7 o'clock or 3 o'clock in the morning, trying to devise a plan. That's what coaches do. Gmo, anything you want to add just about the season series?
Yeah, obviously the third game is probably going to be closer to anything they run or how they play in the playoffs. When you look at that third game, obviously Trae Young was murdering us with the pick and roll. We were trying to play drop coverage that killed us. Obviously getting guys like DeAndre Hunter back, which will definitely be an issue, but he is coming back from knee injury. So, and he was on minutes restriction, at the end of the season. So you might see some different looks. They might put Hunter on Randle a few times, like it did. I think it was like the first game. I might be wrong. I forgot which of the two games you saw Hunter play some defense on Randle. So, Nate McMillan is a fairly practical coach. fairly smart. They're better on defense. So I know what you're saying in terms of, they might show some different stuff where it's not going to be the same, or the 3 games aren't really indicative, but you're probably going to see it more closer to the 3rd game, where even guys like your boy Kevin Horter and Bogdanovich might also have the ball in their hands and initiate the pick and roll. So I think it's just going to be more so closely tied to the 3rd game versus the other 2. But you might show some other looks. The guy's coached for freaking the Supersonics. He had that, my team, one of my favorite players, Brandon Roy, with the Portland Trailblazers, and obviously the Pacers. So he definitely has a ton of experience. Could throw some different looks.
Yeah. And I think there will be some. I think you're exactly right. Things are going to be, what you're seeing in that 3rd game until Trae Young got hurt. I think what you're going to see in the playoffs will look similar to that. And the intensity level is going to be higher. Maybe there's some things that they saved, from looking at these 3 games that they say, okay, we're going to pull it out in the playoffs. We'll see. We'll see when we get there. But I do agree. It's going to look similar. Anything, Steph, you want to add?
I think it may look similar for the first game, and then the adjustments will start after that.
Right.
Depending on who wins.
Right. And then it's really gonna come down to coaching and who can make some adjustments and do whatever they need to do. Nate?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I really don't see the Knicks really making a lot of adjustments or changes. I mean, I think like Thibodeau showed throughout this whole season, even in the playoffs, I mean, that he's going to go with what works for him, and he's not going to try to reinvent the wheel. The thing is with Trae Young, I think for the most part, they play him one-on-one. They really don't double team him. This Hawks team has got some shooters, and they got more depth now. I mean, Okongwu's starting to come along too, behind Capella. So they've got some talent, man. John Collins is back, and he looks good. I mean, this Hawks team is not the team to be messed with. They've got some talent on this team.
Well, I mean, I think we know that. They definitely have talent, and they have the ability to score the basketball.
They got more talent now.
Now I do want to take a look at some numbers behind the season series, right? What we did, what they did, etc. When we take a look at these numbers, it might shock you for the New York Knicks, right? The Knicks averaged 124.3 points per game versus the Hawks. Now, this is all, for most of the season, the Knicks averaging under 110. 2 of those games came during a time where the Knicks were averaging 104 points per game, right? Obviously, the Hawks have players who are hurt. Their defense isn't, they don't have a super tough defense. But the Knicks averaged 124.3 points per game versus the Hawks. The Knicks averaged 115.7 versus the Hawks averaged 115.7 versus the Knicks. The Knicks shot 51.7% from the field. They shot 47.8% from 3. They averaged just about 26 free throw attempts. They shot about 80.5%, close to 81%. They averaged 45 rebounds per game, close to 10 offensive rebounds, 35.7 defensive rebounds, 25.7 assists, and 14 turnovers per game. The Hawks, they shot it at about 45.6% from the field. They shot 33.7% from 3. They also averaged 26 free throw attempts versus the Knicks. It always seems like it's more than that with Trae Young out there because he's so good at drawing fouls. Right, but they averaged 26 free throw attempts. They hit it at 81%, just about the same as the Knicks. They averaged 11 offensive rebounds, 30 defensive rebounds for 42 rebounds a game. They averaged 23 assists and 11.3 turnovers. This is versus each other, not versus other teams and everybody else. So I really wanted to cue in on what they did against each other during the regular season. All right, so this is what they did versus each other. Clearly, the Knicks held their three-point shooting down for the games that we played against them, but the shooting, 45.6%. I'm not exactly sure what they shot for the season, and I'm going to look that up. But the Knicks did okay defensively against the Hawks, although they gave up more points than they normally give up on a regular basis, right? The Knicks normally give up 104 points per game. They gave up 115.7 points per game versus the Hawks. I get a little nervous about the Hawks offense with the Knicks going against them. I want to ask, what about you? I'll start with you, Guillermo. Do you get nervous with the Knicks going against this offense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because they have a few things that bother me. One, or I think that could be a death knell for the Knicks. One, three-point shooting. Again, I know we have the number one three-point defense, or from what it looks, but we still allow a lot of threes. And whenever we go against teams with like these well-oiled systems, where there's dribble drive penetration, kick out, and they stay disciplined, unlike teams like the Grizzlies, right? They can hurt us, right? Then you have the pick and roll, and granted, we have guys who are good at the point of impact and knows it well, and even Taj in terms of defense on it, but we've suffered a lot in the pick and roll, even though our numbers are okay. Trae Young has killed us in the pick and roll, and then you also bringing in guys like DeAndre Hunter, who I think it was the first game I remember. He actually started off fairly decently against us. Again, offensively, they have 6 guys on that team, all shooting above 36%, and not one of those guys is Trae Young. Trae Young is shooting 34%. So they got guys who could murder you. They got freaking who's this guy? Came up from the Bulls, Tony Snell, shooting 50% from 3 off the bench. I think it's only like 2.6 attempts, something like that. But they have an inside-out game that could definitely hurt us. And then also the offensive rebounding. They're number 2 in terms of putback points per miss, which is a problem. The Knicks are number 1 in terms of preventing putback points in the league, but it's like the unmovable object versus unstoppable, whatever that thing is, unmovable thing versus, it's 2 juggernauts going at each other in terms of, I don't know, I messed up that whole line, so don't laugh at me. But yeah, they definitely do have parts of the game that scare me. The thing about it is that when you watch it too, if you read up on what the difference between like Lloyd Pierce and Nate McMillan, is a good article in the Athletic. And Lloyd Pierce he was making these weird rotations, making Trae Young take the ball out of bounds on like these late last second plays and stuff. But now with Nate McMillan, like their net rating in the fourth quarter went from like a negative 1.7 to like a +3. They were winning games that, these close games that they should have won. So they had Nate McMillan. Their record probably could have been even better than it was. So I'm fearful of that. And then taking into account, like I said, Nate McMillan has so much damn playoff experience. He was there in the early 2000s with those, Seattle Supersonic teams with Vin Baker and Vitali, Penko, whatever that guy's name is, Ray Allen. So he knows how to throw different looks. He knows to stay disciplined. He knows which rotations work. And one last thing, I know it's not offensive, but beware of Solomon Hill. I'm not saying that he's going to deploy him as some dirty player and do a Bruce Bowen, but Solomon Hill's one of those guys that he runs into people who's kind of clumsy with the purpose. You saw what he did to LeBron James. So, be very cognizant of Nate McMillan throwing. If you see Solomon Hill for some reason draped up on Randle, just be cognizant that you might see some dirty,
So he's another Tyler Hills.
Hillsborough. He's not exclusively dirty, but he's physical, and it's like things happen around him. Put it like that.
Right. Did I say his name right? I probably didn't.
And I guess it's not about him being, like you said, it's not about him being dirty. It's just, sometimes you have players that have these awkward movements, right? And they do things awkwardly, and it throws you off. And they play physical, and they're always hitting you, and somehow, some way, they don't get called for fouls for it, and it can bother you, and sometimes even cause injuries. I've played against guys like that. Trust me, I know.
And expect them, Sim, because Julius Randle has done a great job this year. But we've talked about this before. Emotional intelligence. Julius Randle has to be a diplomat with these refs, right? Solomon Hill's going to do something. He might do something just like that 76 game where I forgot who it was, fell on Julius Randle, and Julius Randle wanted to hit him, and it's like, yo, dogs, wait, you got the foul call, like chill out. You know what I mean? So he has to be very careful that they don't summon a guy like Solomon Hill. Because I think they might attack Julius Randle early and try to double team, get the ball in his hands. But if you have a guy like Solomon Hill, he might be used to kind of frustrate Julius Randle. You've seen it. Go to the Nuggets game. What did Julius Randle do when he got mad that he, wasn't getting foul calls up? What did he do? Just try to bully ball his way into the paint and in against the zone. And he had a terrible night that night against the Nuggets. Everybody did, but gotta be careful that Nate McMillan doesn't deploy one of his tricks up his sleeve to get Julius Randle out of his.
And that's a really good point, Steph. Do you get worried about Julius Randle in the playoffs being so hyped up, so amped up that he has a hard time controlling his emotions? Because like Gmo said, plenty of times we've seen Randle just not be in control of his emotions.
I think it's possible. I think if it happens one time, I think Tibbs will talk to him and that'll be the end of it. I don't see it as something that would be a continual problem throughout the playoffs. As a matter of fact, I think since that time during the regular season where it seemed like it was happening a lot, he's kind of tailed off since then. So I'm not worried about that. I think it'll be okay.
Okay. Kev, what about you? You have any worries about Randle not being able to control his emotions?
Well, here's the thing. It's a physical and emotional game. I do see him getting a tech in one of these games, probably a couple of these games, because the stakes are raised higher than what they've ever been. I mean, this isn't a game where you play one team and then next game you play another team or something like that. You're playing the same team, so those emotions are going to be very high. And I've seen in Knicks history where our players' emotions have gotten the best of them. So I'm hoping that it won't come to this with Randle because he does have that that in him to earn that that technical foul or even get and now get thrown out the game, and he's too important to us. So do I worry? I do, but like Steph said, I don't know if it's Steph or Gil, the coach will talk to him and that'll be the end of it. So yeah.
And I think it's okay for his emotions to run high, is whether or not he's able to control it and whether or not it impacts his game. Right? Because you don't want him coming out flat either. So it could backfire on him for sure, but you definitely don't want him coming out flat. So I think he'll be. I think he'll be fine.
But this is also his first year in the playoffs, right? And I'm not saying that Julius Randle is going to come out like the Hulk and just start punching people in the face, but he is a guy that when he gets frustrated with his game, more times than not, you see him try to force his game, right? When he's not hot. And he's just sometimes, I don't say jacking up shots, but he's just trying to be over aggressive and trying to find his versus just basically, look, my shot is not on right now. Let me facilitate. Let me kick out. And there have been times, obviously, he tries to look for the open guy line, the post. But, again, with him, it's not necessarily him just screaming. It's also, all right, I have to be able to control the flow of the offense. I can't just come barging down and trying to get a shot. They want to say a 7-0 run or 8-0 run or whatever it is, 12-0 run. They come back at us. It's about, all right, let's get into our sets to slow it down. Let me try to see if I could draw fouls. If not, let me get it to the open guy. So with me, it's just, I think with him, it's just, he has to find a way to hone in his emotional intelligence, know that he's on a different stage right now. It's the playoffs. It's not the regular season. There's a little bit more added pressure. I guess maybe it's a little, I would assume it's more added pressure. And don't try to force it. I mean, don't play. If your emotions are leading you, if he's shooting 7 for 8 in the first half or something like that, obviously your emotions, hey, do whatever's working. But just have as high of a level of IQ as possible. And to tell you the truth, I know what you said, Steph, about Tom Thibodeau will speak to him, but not saying that Tom Thibodeau hasn't. But it seems like Julius Randle, I don't say he has carte blanche, but it's kind of like they allow him to kind of be in his element for the most part. So hopefully Tom Thibodeau can hone it in. Because Tom Thibodeau has been known to lose locker rooms at times. So he may be he may be tough in terms of teaching you how to do certain things, but maybe he's not, he's not a George Karl type of guy who's just going to put you in your place, or a Phil Jackson who could somehow find perfect zen within players. So it'd be interesting to see how Tom Thibodeau handles that.
I don't think that's going to be. Go ahead, Steph. Go ahead, Steph.
To piggyback on what you said, Gmo, I've also seen Randle go the other way. where I felt like he was passing too much. You know, I think it was the Milwaukee game where he only took 11 shots. You know, where he's just passing out of the post too much. There's been times even on the double team where he split the double team right there at the basket to shoot, and he passes it out. I think that if he's very passive, that's going to play into their hands as well. He needs to show up, you know, so I get it that, you know, he has to know when to take the shot, when to pass, because sometimes if a team is double teaming you, doesn't mean you can't get your shot off. So you got to be smart enough to know that just because they're double teaming doesn't mean I need to pass every single time, right? Because if Randle doesn't show up and he becomes a predominantly a passer, I don't think we win the series.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, he's going to have to put some points. He's going to have to put some points on the board.
I agree with that.
And that comes with so I slightly disagree on the double team thing. I think that we've done a good enough job that we found ways to break the zone without being, even though the past how many games, 10, 15, whatever, we were excellent from three, but we found ways to break it, right? RJ's flashing to the foul line, same thing with Taj. And if the zone comes, I still feel like you have to get out to the open man. Now, are there times where you somehow
You talking about the zone or the double team?
I'm sorry, double team. I apologize. Sorry about that. But even then, you've seen Randle post up, find ways to post up in the zone, and then they they just basically double and lay in the count. But against these to the double team point, let me get back to double team point. When guys, even if it's men, guys are still flashing, or whether it's coming around on the perimeter where they, you know, where again everybody's switching around, and you have like a good second or so to make that pass the open guy. It has to kind of be hot potato. I agree with you. Look, I don't want it that Randle's pulling a Kobe. I don't think he's ever going to do that. Like when Kobe did that in Game 6 against the Suns, right? But you know, if the double team is coming, just make the right play. Everybody else, I think that you have enough. The guys are decent enough, and there's enough trust that RJ can get the ball at the foul line and drive to the basket, hand it up to Nonzawell if he need be, get it to Bullock on the wing. Let them make the shots. No need to, you know, sit there and even try to second guess it. Then now you put the Hawks in the position, all right, it's not working. This guy's getting out to the open guy, blah, blah, blah. Unless everybody's missing, then Randle has to go, you know, Super Saiyan Randle, but, you know.
Right. But I think that the issue that we're going to have with Atlanta is the same issue Atlanta is going to have with us. I mean, I think if you focus on who the Knicks were in the first half of the season, then yes, then you would go in thinking Atlanta's not going to have a problem. But our offense has been much better since then. So if they're going to double team Randle, he's going to hit the shooters. And it is their first time in the playoffs, but it's a lot of Atlanta players' first time in the playoffs as well. So they're both in the same, you know, in the same boat. On that double team, when Randle will pass it, we have players that can shoot and can hit the three at a very good percentage. Now, will they be overwhelmed by the pressure of the playoffs? That's possible. I don't think so, but it's possible.
Listen,
you know,
everybody.
You know, what I was going to say was I think the only player on that Hawks team that has playoff experience is Gallinari. Everybody else.
Capella has like 60
Capella,
something.
Right.
And Lou Williams has like 70
Williams, those three. Okay, scratch that whole thing. I apologize.
The starters, but those are, you know, players coming off the bench. Of the starters, they're young, and the same for us.
But for the most part, everybody's going to be playing with nerves. And the thing is that Randle just has to play how the defense dictates. You know, if they're going to double team him, he needs to make the pass. If they're going to give him a one-on-one, he makes the shake, he makes the jump shot, he gets three-pointer. You know, he's going to have to just, however the defense plays him, he's going to have to play, you know, adjust to that. And I think he can. I really do. The thing I worry about with Randle is if we get down early, like y'all have been saying, does he turn into the guy who just tries to do everything, and which basically means he turns over the ball at a high rate and, you know, just starts just taking bad shots? He doesn't do that all the time, but sometimes he does that. You know, how is he going to react to that? You know, obviously being his first playoff game, he's going to have a lot of nerves. He's going to hear a lot of it before the game starts, you know, just the excitement, all that. So he's going to have to, it's probably going to be a rough beginning for Randle, I think. But once, you know, this mid second quarter, third quarter, he'll settle in. The thing I do worry about with Randle is that if he's getting fouled hard and he's not getting the calls, does he let that get to him? Because I feel like that's the biggest problem with him is that I get it, man. He gets fouled. There's no doubt, but he complains a lot. And a lot of times you just need to just stop complaining and just play the game, because, you'll get your calls when you get your calls, but you got to stay focused, because that's what Atlanta's going to try to do. They're going to try to get him out of his game. They're going to try to get in his head, and he's got to be better than that. So that's where I really want to see is, like, when we get down, how does he react? And then if he's not getting the calls, is he letting it bother him and affecting his game? Because those are the two things that will really put us in the hole very quickly.
Yeah, now, I agree. I do think he's going to be, naturally, a lot of people are going to be nervous. Trae Young, a lot of people are going to be nervous with it being the first game. Even the coach is going to be a little bit nervous, right? That's natural. But Julius Randle, I do sometimes worry about his temperament. Hopefully he's able to, with emotions high, he's able to keep it under control a little bit. Learn from the referees quickly, right? If you start saying something to the ref and they quickly, blow the whistle, yeah. Excuse me. And they blow the whistle or whatever it is, learn from it, say, okay, I can't talk as much to the refs, those type of things. But Randle versus the Hawks so far, not so far, but this season, versus the Hawks, he's averaged 37.3 points per game, 12.3 rebounds, 7 assists. He shot 58% from the field and 50% from three. He's basically dominated the Hawks so far. Not so far, but this season, he was dominant. The best player on the floor. I think we need him to continue to be the best player on the floor. John Collins can't guard him. I don't think they really have anyone who can guard him. Maybe Solomon Hill can, rough him up and make him frustrated and get in his head.
100.
But we're going to need him to come out and give us that 37, 12, and 7. Because that's going to, that's going to draw the attention. Now, the question is how quickly, because during the season, the Hawks didn't really double him, which allowed him to drop 37 points a game. In 2 games, he dropped 40 in one game and 44 in another game. Will the Hawks come right out and try to throw a double team at him? Or, will they say, let me see if he comes off hot this game, and if we need to throw a double team at him? Right, but 37 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists. That's a lot to handle. He's been a load for them to handle so far this. Well, I keep saying so far this season, but this season. You know what I mean?
I think they'll have a game plan. The Hawks will, and if it doesn't work, then game 2 they'll just re-strategize. They'll rethink it.
Take the glasses off. Take the glasses off.
They'll rethink
Come on,
it.
Stevie Wonder.
They'll rethink it, and then we'll have to adjust to whatever they throw out at us.
Yeah, if you take the glasses off, you'll be able to get it out. I know you got some cue cards on the screen. You'll be able to see and read those cue cards a little more clearly.
You're not gonna get me, bro. You ain't gonna get me.
What concerns me?
Oh, 1 second, Nate. I'm convinced that
you ain't gonna get me. You ain't gonna get me, man.
I'm convinced that, Kev stopped at one of them shops on the way home. He don't want everybody to see what color his eyes are right now. I think that's what it is, G-Mo. I think he stopped at one of those shops, man.
He's glassy-eyed.
You're not going to get me, man.
He don't want people to, he don't want people to see it.
We are in the playoffs. You are not going to get me. You are not going to get me.
I'm just saying. The only reason why somebody wears sunglasses indoors is because they want to hide their eyes. You know what I'm saying?
Those are medicinal shades.
Exactly.
That's fine there. Ain't nothing going on. Now, can I put my sunglasses back on?
No.
Yeah, go ahead.
So something that concerns me a little bit is that, like, as dominant as Randle's been, the games have still been really close. it's not like the Knicks had run away with it. Maybe around the end, they kind of maybe ran away a little bit with it. But for the most part, these games have been very close. And Randle those numbers are gaudy. I mean, those are star numbers right there, like superstar numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact is the game has still been close. So, for me, it makes me wonder with Atlanta, are they just going to let Randle get his points and just try to shut everybody else down? That to me sounds like a strategy they might try to work because, yeah, nobody can match up with Randle. He's too fast, foot speed wise for their bigs. But everybody else, they can put a harness on everybody else and try to shut down everybody else and let Randle have his.
What's their defensive rank since Nate McMillan has been there? Do we have that?
I don't know what it is since he's been there, but
it's like middle of the pack, I think.
Yeah,
it's better than they were before.
Yeah.
Does anybody know how deep he goes?
Oh, one second. Go ahead, G-Mo.
They ranked 12th. So when Lloyd Pierce was at, the defensive rating was 23rd. And since Nate's they ranked 12th.
Jeez.
Okay. And Kev, you got to put your microphone down, Kev.
I know it was up. Shoot, that was your fault. So, but anyway, how deep does Nate McMillan go with his bench? How deep does he go?
About 10 deep. I think he goes about 10 deep. Same as Thibodeau.
Okay, so he goes 10. He goes 10.
I think he goes about 10 deep. As a matter of fact, we might as well switch right over and take a look at some potential lineups. We'll also take a look at the benches of the teams. And I know, of course, there's always will be the argument of whether or not Tom Thibodeau was going to make a change to the lineups.
Not the way it sounded like today, or was that yesterday?
Let's stick with his guns, man.
That was today, right? He did a media whatever today, and you're right. It didn't sound like he was going to do it initially, but I will say I feel like he left the door open.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he left the door open, and the reason why I say that, the reason why I say that is because the question came up about Frank Ntilikina. Right. And he said, he's thinking really hard about having Frank Ntilikina in that playoff rotation. Right. And if he's having him in the playoff rotation, unless he's not going to have Obi in the playoff rotation, so the question is always, how is it going to work? Who's going to be the odd person out? Right. If Frank Ntilikina comes in. So it's going to be interesting to see the way that he decides to go. But looking at some projected lineups, obviously for the Knicks, I still believe he's going to, at least for the first game, let me say this. I'll say that. Adjustments can always be made as they're going forward. But at least for the first game, he's probably going to start the normal lineup: Alfred Payne, Reggie Bullock, R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, Nerlens Noel. And for the Hawks, it's hard to say because each game that we played them, the only three consistent players in that starting lineup was Trae Young, John Collins, and Clint Capella. Now, obviously, guys have been injured, right? So with guys being injured, you got to input different people in the starting lineup. I'm expecting, just looking at what they were doing recently, Trae Young, Bogdanovich, Tony Snell, John Collins, and Clint Capella. I think he's got Tony Snell in there really for defensive purposes. So they're going to at least have one guy in there that can really, get after it and play hard defensively. Say that again?
I'm sorry, I didn't cut you. My bad. I was just saying that Solomon Hill also started a few games as well, too.
Right.
When guys like Deion.
Yeah, so their lineup has really been rustled around a lot. Obviously, on the bench for the Knicks, you got Derrick Rose, Alec Burks, Obi Toppin, Taj Gibson. Those are the guys who have been the normal rotation players for the Knicks. For the Hawks, Lou Williams, Kevin Huerter, DeAndre Hunter, Danilo Gallinari, Okongwu, right, and maybe Solomon Hill, as Guillermo's was mentioning Solomon Hill. So do they cut the lineups shorter? It's hard to say if they're going to cut, instead of going 10 deep, maybe they go 9 or 8 deep. Who knows what they're going to do? I'm going to start with you, Kevin. What do you want to see Tom Thibodeau do with the lineup?
Well, what's the term? If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
That's it.
As much as I'll say this, as much as Alfred's been in a slump, I'm still going to go with him starting. With that being said, during the course of the game, I need to have Frank in there just to disrupt whatever it is that Trae Young is doing. There's been ample tape of Frank sticking Trae Young and having much success against him. Now, this year, we didn't see that in any of the games. I don't think Frank played in any of the 3 games of with the Hawks. He might have played in game. No, I think he was out of the first game. He's going to have to incorporate Frank in there somehow, some way. But other than that, you go with what got you here. And these are the guys that have gotten you here. So why change?
No, I agree. I actually agree with it. I would at least begin with what I started with. That's my starting point, right? This is what I started with. And then I'd go from there. Gmo, what do you think?
Yeah, real quick, Gmo. I'm sorry, real quick. I will say that we can't afford to be behind in any of these games the way we started with Alfred. I will say that if that happens, like we can't for 15 minutes, we can't have a deficit and then wait for Derrick Rose to come in and then try to erase that deficit. We can't do it like that. When Alfred goes out. If we're down, I'd rather be down like maybe 2 or 3 points, but we can't be down like 7 or 8 and then expect Derrick Rose to come in and, and make miracles happen. So that's all I had to say. I'm sorry. I'm done.
Oh, go ahead, Gmo.
So, all right. So I have a stat to read to you guys. You've probably already seen this on Twitter, right? So New York versus Atlanta this season with Alfred Payne, 70 minutes. ATL outscored New York by 21 points. New York versus Atlanta without Alfred Payne, 79 minutes. New York outscored Atlanta by 47 points. So,
but who's on the? Well, let me ask you, who's on the floor during those minutes?
That's also true.
Because is Trae Young on the floor during those minutes?
That's also true. Oh, I forgot where I was.
No, I'm asking the question because you can't just say 79 minutes with this person and 79 minutes without that person because it all depends on who's on the floor.
That's fair enough, Sam.
So you got to you just got to add a little bit more to that. Put some more meat on the bone.
All right.
Throw some more turkey on my Subway.
You know what? That's fair enough. That is fair enough, Sim, because you think you're slick. But I will say this. It's going to be tough because it's weird. If you go back to that third game where they were doubling with those Horder, especially Bogdan with Nonza well, it seemed to work. When Trae Young was in that third game, I don't remember. We played a lot of drop coverage with Nonza and Taj, where they were just waiting for Nonza or Rose to reset back onto Trae, and it never came. I don't remember us throwing double teams at Trae Young in the pick and roll. But I will say this: there is a lineup that I think can work with Frank Ntilikina still being a decent contributor on offense, where he doesn't have that ball in his hand, right? So there's one lineup that the Knicks have played. It was IQ, Rose, Randle, RJ, and Taj. Should be 5, right? And I believe it was like the Mavericks game. And I was like, this team offensively is probably one of the best I've seen in terms of rotation-wise for this team, right? You had the pick and roll Taj and Rose. Rose able to beat his guy to the basket, ran horn sets where Randle would get the ball up at the top of the key and beat his man to the basket, or he had the ability to shoot a three. Randle would drive, kick it out to RJ. And if you looked at all those plays, now Quickly was also had a few shots, or he at least had a three, I remember, in that rotation. But you can hide Frank in that rotation and stick him in the corner. And oddly enough, he's shooting 70% from corner threes this year. Not I would say oddly, but it's just, in a certain number. Obviously a small sample size. But that lineup right there, you have two ball handlers with Rose and RJ, and then you also have a third, or what do you want to call him, point forward with Randle. And literally, you can just hide Frank in one of the corners on the wing to flash when Randle's posting up, kick it out to him, and he could take that three, whether it be at the wing or the corner where he's been solid this year. So definitely Tom Thibodeau has something to work with. And like Cornerstone said, you don't have to play Frank to start the game. But if you could have him in one of those, maybe in the second quarter or late in the third quarter rotations where you're stopping Trae Young and at least giving yourself a chance, say you're down in the third quarter, give yourself the chance to come back with Frank playing defense and still be able to have him not being a total zero on offense, it could work. Will he do it? I'm not sure, because now you have Burks who's back healthy, right? You also, Rose is relatively healthy for the most part. Bullock will be healthy. All these guys are relatively healthy, so I'm not necessarily sure. But if Trae is killing us, one last thing I'll say too, though, I wonder how the refs are going to call the game, because in the playoffs, the refs give a little bit more leeway, right? Because now you don't need your artificial stars to carry the NBA during the regular season, so they may not call either way for Randle or Trae. If they don't call him as much for Trae, maybe you don't see Frank. But if they do, I do think that Thibodeau will start, because Thibodeau this season, he adapts a lot. He seems to, it's very subtle, but he'll throw a lot. He'll throw the whole kitchen sink at you to try to stop you before, giving up in a game like you see in like the first Spurs game or whatever. So you might see Frank if Trae gets these foul calls, but if they call it fair in the playoffs, you may not even need to see Frank. No offense to you, Kev, but you may not even need Frank.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, you just use him like you just said. If it calls for it. I mean, if Trae Young is shredding us literally, then you've got to find another way. And Frank has had success against sticking Trae Young. He's done that. Go ahead.
I think Tibbs got to have more than just Frank for Tibbs. I think that has to be one of a few options in terms of making an adjustment on Trae. It can't, whether he's going to double team, whether he's going to trap, whether he's going to throw different defenders on it. His only adjustment can't be output Frank on him, because we don't know how Frank will play him this time around. So he has
or Bullock, right? Or Bullock, right?
Something. I'm sure he's going to have more than just one adjustment for Trae. The other thing I'll say about Alfred is we already know, like we go through this statistically, we already know. For me, I'm just focusing on his past 10, 15 games. I'm not even talking about the beginning of the season. He has not been playing well at all. And Tibbs has recognized it. I think he's down to like 12 minutes, 13 minutes a game. I think, as I said before, Elf is in there to hold the spot, to keep that second rotation the way it is. You can't underestimate what it is to have a set lineup where you're used to playing with guys. And I don't know if the playoffs is now. He does do other rotations as well, especially in the fourth. Especially in the fourth quarter. So it's not totally set where they're playing with the same guys. But I think starting somebody else and putting Elf on the second team would be a disaster. I think if you're not going to start him, just don't play him. Just don't play him at all. I'm not confident in Frank starting, especially at the point guard position. I don't want Rose starting. I don't know. And I could be wrong. Does Rose have enough to start the first quarter, the third quarter, and close and be effective closing? You know what I mean? So I think Elf is kind of a placeholder, so to speak. And I think we're just going to have to rock with it. I mean, I think we've gotten this far with him in the lineup, with his limitations. And listen, maybe Elf if you're scrolling through YouTube and you're listening to us, maybe he'll bring us some of what he brought us in the beginning of the season, which was obviously he wasn't a great shooter, but he was very aggressive going to the basket, and he put a lot of pressure on the defense, and he could put a lot of pressure on Atlanta if he does that. But the way he's been playing lately, we're not even getting that.
One last thing, I agree with everything Steph said. And one last thing too is that with Alfred Payne, he needs to be aggressive in rebounding.
Yes.
I don't get it. Look, to me, I was never an NBA player. I was never even close to it. But it's like you never let your offense dictate your defense. Your defense is like literally your last calling card. Not necessarily just on defense too, but offense with his rebound. It's like many times you see Alfred Payne. I understand when he misses a shot, he's looking at his hand like, oh man, what happened? It's like the team is ready going down. Of course, like dog. Or even when the shot's going up, he's looking at the shot with with the other player. I'm like, guy, crash the freaking ball. Like so many times you see those Taj Gibson, those guys, RJ Barrett, Bullock helping out. And I'm like, Alfred Payne, if you're not scoring and you know you're not going to score, you can at least give me. And he's actually, for his position, he's actually one of the better, I won't call him one of the best, one of the better rebounding guards. But he could do a lot more for this team. It's like, I've just deploy you as a bulldog. Okay, you're not going to score, just going to double up to Randle. Okay, if you're on the other side, if you're on the other wing, Randle's posting up, he's about to throw it up, even though every time freaking Randle's posting up, Alfred Payne's right in his line of sight from the pass, which gets me pissed. But if you're on the other side and Randle puts it up, crash the freak. No one's even paying. You have Trae Young on you. You can't push over Trae Young. You can't box him out. You guys are both in the paint. Like, I'm sorry, man. Alfred Payne, understandably so, your game offensively and trash. Tony Allen had that same realization. And he became one of the best defensive players of all time. He's like, you know what? Look, I ain't going to ever score 30, 40 points in a game, but I know I'm going to shut you down. I know I'm going to out-rebound you. I'm going to make you work for every shot. He has to do the same thing with Trae Young. To Steph's point, how many times do we see Alfred Payne, and you've seen Alfred Payne play better defense, but he'll be too handsy. It's like he's getting angry. He's being too – it's like, dogs, you know how to play with your hips. You know how to play better defense. Then, like you guys have seen, he goes to the bench, he's sulking, he's sitting by himself. So I'm sorry, all this stuff about, look, you may not be here next year, but you want to be on an NBA team next season, right? You're playing for your next contract right now for Payne. So to me, you may not score 2025, but you need to be a bulldog out there. There should be no reason guys like Romeo Langford, I know he's not on the Hawks, but he did in that Celtics game, is getting 3 rebounds, offensive rebounds, and they all went for 3-point shots. I don't need to see second chance points occurring because Alfred Payne can't box out or run to the basket and crash, or everybody else is working hard.
He's playing 13 minutes. He's got to go out there and do those little things for those 13 minutes. He's playing 13 minutes a game. He's got to go out there. You know, what's the coach always tell you? You play 13 minutes, you better put it all out there in those 13 minutes. And right now, he's down on himself. Don't know if, he's upset because his minutes have been cut or what, but obviously you got to perform so that your minutes can stay wherever they are.
Right.
I think
they were cut for a reason.
Exactly. I think he still starts, but I think Coach Thibodeau has a quicker leash, maybe. Right, depending on the health of Derrick Rose, I would say that as well, because we know Derrick Rose twisted his ankle, has a sprained ankle, and hopefully to be healthy enough, he's had a week off. They did say that it was kind of a precaution just to make sure. So hopefully Derrick Rose is going to be healthy and ready to go, because we clearly need Derrick Rose out there on the floor. And then, of course, throughout the game, I think you are going to see Frank Ntilikina, because down the stretch, these games that were really, really important, when Coach Thibodeau needed defense on a guard, he went to Frank.
He was there.
He went to Frank. So I think you are going to see a lot of Frank in this series. And I feel like Tom Thibodeau was starting to trust Frank, not only with his defense, but also with his three-point shooting. So I think he's starting to feel confident that he can put him out there and have him, do a bunch of things all over the floor. And I am one person that tends to feel like Frank is a guy in tight moments that can step up and play some good basketball for you. I really do feel that way. I mean, ever since he was a rookie, and I think he played Indiana, and he knocked down a couple of big threes versus Indiana, I was like, I think this guy has a good clutch gene. And I'm not talking about making shots in a clutch gene. right? I'm talking about making plays and understanding how to make plays. I really do think he can do that. You know,
I will say, but Sim, do you think he's gotten a little bit heavier? Because obviously his rookie year he was a lot lighter, quicker, and I know the groin injuries have probably gotten into him, but he's not playing with his hips as much as he was before. Now, granted, he actually is playing good defense. You look at the numbers in his limited minutes, but every time he comes in a game, it's 1 or 2 quick fouls, right? You know, do you see that as an issue do you think he's bulked up a little bit too much? Or maybe the injuries have gotten to him because he doesn't seem as sharp moving laterally with ball handlers as he was years prior.
You know, that's a good question. You know, I have to really watch and pay attention. I'm not sure. That's a good question, though. That's a good question.
I agree, but I think because of his wingspan, he's been able to make up for it. But I agree, he doesn't seem to be moving as well as he earlier in his career. And if we put in Frank, he cannot get those quick fouls on Trae Young and draws them very well and put him on the line. Right, yeah. Bring him in 2 quick fouls, 4 free throws.
Right. But you know, I think
about where you're bringing him in too.
Yeah, I think his long arms is what really allows him to be able to play guys like Trae Young, right? Because one of the things that Trae Young does is get into your body when he's going up, which creates a foul, right? Frank is able, because his arms are long, he's able to kind of, I don't know if his arms are as long as Horton Tucker. That guy has some long arms, but I mean, short, not short, relatively speaking, short, but his arms is like, I was like, what the heck? He looks weird, you know, with his arms being that long. But, you know, Frank's got long arms as well, which allows him to be able to, play back off of someone to give them room because they're quick, but still be there because his arms are long, and it really does help off of a screen and roll. You know what I'm saying? Now, he can be susceptible when he's got his arms out there to get called on that swing through foul or something like that. But I think, and I'm really going to, when we get into strategy and breaking down some plays of the game in another video, really going to look at that screen and roll. I think that's going to be a big key, and we're going to need help, not just from the point guard, whoever's guarding Trae Young, but from Nerlens Noel, Julius Randle, and even the backside guys. You know, the problem with those backside guys is that they can knock down the three, so you got to be careful because Trae Young can really pass the basketball as well. But that screen and roll it can be deadly with the Atlanta Hawks. I'm going to talk about that just a little bit after I get to Nate, and I want to come to Evergreen. Haven't heard from him yet. Go ahead, Nate.
Yeah, so I actually think that in this series, and I could be wrong, I actually think that we might not see a lot of. Toppin for sure. I think definitely Toppin's not gonna see as much minutes, because of Gibson, Noel, maybe Randle, Randle's gonna be in there too. But I actually think we might not see a lot of Quickly. And I'll tell you why, because the emergence of Burks and Derrick Rose is healthy, keyword healthy. I think you're going to see more of Derrick Rose and Burks over Quickly and possibly even Frank too in there too, thrown in there, because the reality is that the Knicks could run a lineup of Derrick Rose, Frank, RJ, Randle, and Noel. And, especially when Trae Young's in the game, have Frank check Trae Young. So Derrick Rose doesn't get in foul trouble, because you can't have Derrick Rose get in foul trouble because he's one of our third best scorers on the team.
I feel that Emmanuel Quickly is going to be critical. So I disagree with Nate on that there. I think he's going to be his ability to shoot the ball from deep, not just 3-point line deep, but deep, from the logo deep, spreads the floor for everybody else, like really spreads the floor, not just a person's, Alec Brooks can shoot the ball from the 3-point line, so he spreads the floor. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying Emmanuel quickly pulls the defender way out, which opens up that area on the foul line at the top of the key for guys to post up, in that pinch post area, for guys to flash to that area of the floor because of his ability to shoot deep and also his ability to score in bunches. Right? I think his ability to score in bunches really helps this team, especially at points in the game when we get down, we can't find a shot. He comes in the game, hits 2-3 threes, gets to the foul line. I think that's just going to be critical for this team in the playoffs. So yeah, I think he's going to be on the floor.
I was looking more from a defensive standpoint, Sim. I understand from the offensive standpoint what you're talking about. Because offensively, yeah, he can get buckets, but I was looking more from a defensive standpoint, especially when you have Trae Young. I'd rather have Frank out there playing Trae Young than Quickly. That's just my opinion, if we're talking defense.
But you need Trae Young to work, too, and he would have to guard Quickly. He doesn't have to work.
Well, we talked about Frank, being a little bit better offensively, so, he would have to respect them, at least from a three-pointer.
Yeah, but Frank can't put the ball on the floor like Quickly can.
And Trae Young is not like Quickly struggles like the worst with physical guards, right? Or anybody who switches on to him. And the thing I'll say about Quickly, if you go back to that third game, he actually did a decent job of trying to prevent the picks and trying to anticipate where the picks were coming against Trae Young. Yeah. So, I know Quickly is not the prettiest defender, but he's actually taking strides. He's playing way better on the passing lanes. Help defense.
Yes. Absolutely.
Great job teaching these guys discipline. So I actually think Quickly, even on the defensive end, can be an asset, especially because he's twitchy. Like, when you see him kind of like hopping, trying to prevent the pick, he's twitchy enough to stay with Trae Young. Trae Young, right? So again, Trae Young's going to try to draw fouls and stuff like that. Whenever someone's aggressively trying to reset against the pick, Trae Young does his little dirty work. But I think Quickly might be the most surprising player this series. And to Sim's point, real quick, again, Trae Quickly opens up the floor. Just being a threat, he opens up the floor. So you got to keep him out there. I know Frank has taken strides shooting threes, but Quickly's been fairly, semi-proficient at doing it, especially as a catch and shoot, especially shooting 46% from the catch and shoot this season, which is excellent. So, to me, I think Quickly might be the underrated player of the series. And also, if you think about I don't know, he scored the third game. First game, he had 16, I believe. And he was the one that helped bring us back because remember, the Hawks were up by like double digits that first game. Quickly had he had a really good third going into the fourth quarter. I can't remember exactly what, but he was excellent on the offensive end. So yeah.
How great is it to have both our rookies in their first playoffs? How great is that?
Yeah, it's
we'll
perfect.
See.
It's perfect.
One may not be
we'll
playing.
See if they contribute.
Hey. Right.
Just know that if Pinson's playing, is either we won or we're done. So
we're done. Yeah. Right. Let me get to Evergreen here. And also, by the way, what's his Emmanuel Quickly? He was the one who got that big steal on Trae Young down the stretch of that first game, I believe. It was Quickly. Got a big steal down the stretch to, kind of wrap up the game for the Knicks. Evergreen, what's popping, man?
What's going on, y'all? So I found out some of Tom Thibodeau's secret sauce, right? A lot of y'all they're not going to like this, okay? So in the 2019-2020 season, does everybody know where Tom Thibodeau actually was over the summertime?
Was he with the Warriors?
Nope.
Wait, when you say?
Where was Tom Thibodeau at the end of the 2019-2020 season?
Miami.
Miami. Yeah, I think he was with Miami, right?
He was with Miami, right? But where was he when real basketball was happening? Not the offseason of the NBA, but when real basketball tournaments was happening. Where was he? Anybody know?
In the bubble?
Oh, no, he wasn't in the bubble. I'm talking about the 2019 season. Excuse me, 2018-2019 season.
Oh, 18-19.
He was at the FIBA tournament. Not only was he at the FIBA tournament, but he was a commentator at the FIBA tournament during the loss of the USA team. And he gave high praises to our boy Frank, which explains the reason why when Detroit inquired about Frank Ntilikina for the trade to pair him up with the other French boy over there, that they said no. That because it was Tom Thibodeau that was thoroughly impressed with Frank Ntilikina's big game presence during that game, dropping 19 points.
Let me put on my sunglasses so anybody, so nobody can.
Then play him.
You can hear the plastic.
So like it or not, right? Like it or not, whether it makes you happy, whether it makes you sad, whether it makes you say, Evergreen, shut up, you don't know what the hell what you're talking about. Frank Ntilikina is here, and Tom Thibodeau has already seen what Frank can do in big games. I get it. We can get mad, and we can make the comparison, and we can say, oh well, it's the FIBA tournament, right? But at that FIBA tournament, he had a few NBA players on his team, Evan Fournier, Rudy Gobert, but he shut down Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum, right? And was hooping. So I don't.
Oh my gosh. Evergreen, you gotta stop. Evergreen, you gotta stop. You gotta stop. That man is. You gotta stop.
But here's a rain on your parade. It didn't translate to the regular season.
Yeah, I got you. I got you. The regular. I'm not. We
already said we think he's gonna play him. We think he's gonna play him.
Let's not act like
Guillermo, I got you.
He gotta have more than that up his sleeve.
This is why my giggles aren't as high pitched as Kenzo.
If you hear any noise, it's just me and the boys.
Oh boy.
I'm just giving you guys the information.
Can I say one thing, Evergreen? Can I say one thing?
Go ahead.
As soon as Cornerstone, as soon as you start singing, 20 people left. I'm watching the view. I'm watching the views right now. 20 people just, oh my gosh, and rolled up out of here. Come on, man.
I don't. You can't blame them.
Listen, all I'm saying is,
yeah, I can't blame him for that.
All I'm saying is, listen.
I ain't gonna lie, I almost left.
Toe, you my boy, man.
Listen, guys. All I'm saying is that there's value in Frank. The organization sees value in Frank. And whether Guillermo likes it a lot, his skills didn't translate to the regular season. I got you. I understand.
No, I mean Tom Thibodeau's love for Frank didn't.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, it didn't translate. But the regular season isn't big games. We're talking about the playoffs now. We're talking about the big game now. And he's seen him up close and personal. And I'm telling you, go back. I just ran across this. This wasn't me going back and searching for FIBA tape. You know what I mean? I did that last season when I capped for Frank Ntilikina, but I didn't do that this season. And I just so happened to come across a Twitter page where guys are talking about, and I'm like, is that Tom Thibodeau's voice? And then I read in the comments of the video, they're like, Tom Thibodeau is talking about Frank. And you can hear his Barry White, the white guy with the Barry White voice. You can hear it. And he's like, oh, wow. I'm like, oh, okay. So he appreciates that. So these are big games that we're coming up on. Right? These are huge games that we're coming up on. And just like Sim alluded to earlier, he's come up in some big games, right? Even this season, he's come up in some big game for us. So all I'm saying is the poise is there where we can depend on a guy to do the dirty work, and we can depend on a guy to come through. And I think that guy may be Frank. Again, I'm not going to put on a Frank cape. Right, I'm not going to get all giddy.
I'll put it on.
You can put it on. I'll let you wear it.
You don't need to put it on. You rocking it. You rocking it. You don't need to put it on.
I don't know if you guys watch the Incredibles cartoon, but the guy with the cape always gets sucked into the airplane engine. So you got to be careful with the cape. I'm just letting you know. I'm just giving you guys the information that Tom Thibodeau values him.
Yeah, Frank Ntilikina really is key for me in guarding that pick and roll, because I think he, his length and his ability to defend guards similar to Trae Young, are going to help tremendously. Because look, with the Atlanta Hawks, the The pick and roll ball handler with the Atlanta Hawks averages 23 points per game. All right, the pick and roll ball handler. And I'm not saying just Trae Young, but the pick and roll ball handler, 23 points per game. That's third in the NBA. Shooting,
That's crazy.
The effective field goal percentage is 48.5%. All right. We got to be able to guard it. The roll man for the Atlanta Hawks is averaging 9.6 points per game. That's number 2 in the NBA. Right, the Sacramento Kings are number 1 at 11.1. All right, shooting 57.7%. We've got to deal with that pick and roll because it can be deadly, and we've seen it in the third game. They were killing us with that screen and roll, and we had no clue or idea how to stop it because they have shooters that can spread the floor out, and you have a point guard and Trae Young that just gets the timing right. And that's what it's all about, getting the timing right. And obviously he's able to put a lot of pressure on the defense because of his ability he can pull up the jump shot, he can float the ball, and he can pass. So his ability to do those things really does put a lot of pressure on the defense. You know what I mean? So it tells Nerlens Noel, I got to help out on Trae Young. Julius Randle, I got to help out on Trae Young. You know what I'm saying? Which causes Nerlens Noel to come off of Clint Capella.
Mm-hmm.
Which causes Julius Randle to come off of, whoever he's guarding, John Collins, to come off just a little bit. Now all of a sudden you got 4 guys, three guys around Trae Young and Clint Capella, and you got all these guys open, right? Because of his ability to put pressure on the defense as well as pass to the roller, and so we've got to really be smart. I was watching, I'll get to you 1 second, Evergreen. I was watching a little breakdown from MSG Networks, and they showed how the Knicks were in great defense, all right? Clint Capella set a high screen on Alfred Payne. Trae Young came off the screen. Alfred Payne was trailing, was in decent position. Nerlens Noel was in good position as he came over and helped. Julius Randle was in good position. But then Nerlens Noel took a stab, and he wasn't seriously trying to double team Trae Young. He just took a stab at Trae Young. And as he took that stab, that gave Clint Capella a split second to get behind him, and Trae Young found him. Boom. As soon as Trae Young recognized that Nerlens Noel took that stab, he knew he had Clint Capella wide open. Right? And if the guards like R.J. Barrett, who was guarding the person who was in the corner, would have came over to help out on Clint Capella, Trae Young, instead of finding Clint Capella, would have kicked it across the court to the guard open in the corner. Right? So when you have a passer who has the kind of floor vision that Trae Young has, your defense against the pick and roll has to be perfect. It really does. And, we're going to break that down maybe some tomorrow, Friday as well. We're going to break down some of these, some of these little nuances of the game there. But, we got to figure out a way to stop that pick and roll, or we could be in trouble. Evergreen, go ahead, man.
What I was going to say is a lot of the times what I saw with that pick and roll, they run like a screen. The guy who's setting the pick is coming from the far left wing. And it's like they know exactly when Trae Young gets to a certain point in the top of that elbow or the top of that key, in the top of that 3-point line, exactly when to come up out of nowhere to essentially get that man trapped. So by the time, Nerlens Noel gets his eyes and sees that screen coming, it's too late for him to call it out. And then that leaves whoever's the primary defender on Trae Young, having to fight. And now he's around the screen, but he's trailing. So, we got to find a way to keep our head on the swivel and keep Nerlens Noel's head on the swivel, since he's the anchor of that defense and the anchor of communication, to let him know that screen is coming up, because the way that Trae Young the way he uses that screen is just it's crazy. And the fact that he's the screener is averaging 23 points a game is nuts to me. You know what I mean? Because it lets you know that damn near a quarter of their points all coming from the same exact play. Right. Might come from the right side, might come from the left side, but it's the same play. So we definitely gotta put our hand on that and figure out how to stop that.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that's going to be difficult to do. It's going to be difficult to do. I'm pretty sure Tom Thibodeau's got a lot of experience, and maybe because the Knicks were able to win those games during the regular season and had leads, didn't want to show his hand, maybe knowing that it's possible that they could play the Atlanta Hawks in the playoffs, but we got to figure out a way to stop that. I don't know. That's going to be difficult. We're going to break it down though as we move on. And I want to give a big shout out to Donald Cannon. Thank you for the super chat. Back when I was muted, he says, "Sim, you're muted. All I hear is Cornerstone eating."
Wow. Just wow. Just wow. You know what, Sim? You know what? First off, does that super chat really need to be read?
Yes. That's why he paid me. He paid me to read it.
Well, you gotta read them all.
I don't know what you want. Pay him more not to read it.
Right, exactly. We can bargain. We can bargain for it. Yeah. It's going to be interesting, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be an interesting series. I'm looking forward. Listen, I need the Knicks to win because I'm trying to go to a Philly game. I need the Knicks to go ahead and get this. I'm trying to get to a Philly game. A Philly playoff game versus the Knicks. That's what I'm trying to get to. So I need the Knicks to take care of business against the Hawks. It's going to be difficult. You know what I'm saying? It's going to be difficult, but I believe in this team. Tony, you just joining us, man. What's your take? We talked about lineups. We talked about the matchup between the two teams throughout the season. And any thoughts that you have as far as lineups and rotations and who could be in or out?
Well, I'm gonna fall back on my previous statement, and I'm starting to think that Tibbs is gonna rock with the group he's been rocking with. So Payton will get the start. I'm just confident in the team, man. I think we could win. I think we should definitely win. I don't see it going 7, maybe 6. My only concern is really they have a lot of shooting. I mean, but technically we do too. You know what I mean? Like it's hard for us to acknowledge it, throughout the course of the season. But now that the regular season's over and you look at these numbers, I mean, we got like 4 or 5 guys, maybe 6 guys shooting at 40% or better. So I think, as long as we continue to do what we've been doing, I think we'll be fine. I don't want to look ahead, but like you said, man, I'm ready for I want to go to Philly too. So
I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it.
I'm ready.
Am I allowed to go?
We'll think about it. We'll think about it.
All right, I'll just go over I just go to Evergreen's house. That's all.
Evergreen's gonna be with us.
I'm supposed to be trying to go there, Kev. I threw the name. I drew your name out of a hat, bro. I said, we got it. What we do about Kev? And they were all like, we don't know yet. We got to figure it out.
Well, I thought Kev was going with a different group.
Wow. Anthony, you on my list, boy, Tony. Yeah. You on my list. Big time. You talk about crossing over. You crossed over to Dark.
We're just messing with you. Of course you're invited, man.
Your name is Darth Crow. That's your name, Darth Crow.
Of course you're invited. And I want you all to be on the lookout. Be on the lookout. In September, everything isn't booked yet, but it will be in about a month. In September, we are going to have an NBK family reunion. Outside event. We'll have some food out there. We're going to play some basketball and do a live podcast and all of that. It's going to be dope. So Be on the lookout. Only about 100 people for the first one, but it's something that we'll be looking to do every year because now we're really starting to get a lineup. We're working towards our lineup of events, of in-person events outside of just watching basketball games, but people getting together and doing some fun things. Basketball games, draft parties, and all kinds of stuff like that. It's just some straight up live podcasting and things like that. So please be on the lookout for it. All right, those who are members are going to get the information first so that they can go ahead and sign up if they want to go, and then we'll get it out to the public. So be on the lookout for that very soon. David Geeks, he said, the first annual NBK fam picnic or family reunion. I don't want to say picnic, family reunion. David Geeks, he said, Sim, the sweater I bought from you was fire. I appreciate that. Thank you for purchasing it. And he said, Cornerstone, it's not your fault. He said, it's not your fault that it's that easy to pick on you. We're not picking on them. We just having fun.
Hey, real quick, that annual picnic, is that going to be in Hawaii?
I'm sorry, it's going to be in Westchester.
Oh, Westchester, okay.
It's not going to be in Hawaii. It's going to be in Westchester.
Hawaii, okay.
His only job is to throw those little glasses he just had on, and he got to stand behind a grill and cook all day.
That's it.
Don't say nothing. Don't giggle. Don't do that. Just cook.
I think Chef Zay is on the grill. I think
we're gonna try to get Chef Zay on the grill or something.
I don't know. Has anybody actually tasted Chef Zay's food yet? We don't know yet. We don't know what's going on. We don't know who he vote for. We don't know if he cleaned the chicken right.
Yeah.
Don't worry. I'll be moderating.
He only did like 4 or 5 episodes, so we don't really know if that cooked.
And Donald Cannon, he said, this is for Nate. When he comes back on, tell him to shave or cut his hair. We go on a win streak when he turns off the Wolfman. All right, I'm going to tell him. I'm going to let him know. He's probably still listening in. I'm going to let him know. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, please be on the lookout for those things. And there may be some more things coming up that's even closer, so we'll let you know. We're going to have a meeting when we get off of here, talk about some things. So I appreciate you all. Thank you for joining me. Tomorrow night, I'll be back on at 8:30. I know there's a lot of people out right now, not out, but a lot of people watching, getting ready to watch the Lakers and the Warriors. That's a big game. Huge one right there. That's a huge one. And I'm going to tell you what, I believe that Utah and Phoenix, because I do think that the Lakers and the Warriors are going to have the 7th and 8th seed. Obviously, one of them is going to get the 7th seed tonight, and then somebody's going to get the, whoever loses, I think, is going to get the 8th seed. That's going to be a tough matchup for Utah and Phoenix, man. You play all season to get that number 1 seed or number 2 seed, and you end up having to play the Lakers with LeBron and AD. That's tough. That's tough.
It is tough.
That's tough. But let me get some last words, and then we're going to get up out of here. Steph?
Knicks in 6. I mean, I respect Atlanta. I don't think it's going to be easy. I wouldn't be shocked if the Knicks lost the series, but I have the Knicks winning in 6. I think that Tibbs is going to have, for the pick and roll, for Capella, for all of those cats, Tibbs is going to have a game plan. And the other thing I will say is that I have witnessed very good defensive teams take players out of a game and take players out of a series where they don't even show up. And if they do, they're very inefficient. And we have that type of defense.
Yeah, I agree with that. And actually, I'm going to come over to you, Kev, but before we do that, let me get to this quick phone call. And no, Mighty Knicks, Chef Zay's show has not been canceled. I just told him he can't come back on until he gets a chef hat. So,
Or 3-spell soliloquy.
Exactly. Call you live. What's popping?
Man.
There he is. What's going on with you, man? How you feeling?
Man, hey, my man. Hey, Sam, you know how I'm feeling, man. It's funny. We were talking the other day, man. You know, we got on the stream, and I was looking at everybody. I was like, we all happy. I said, man, years ago, this was the boom. You know, everybody had them long face, man.
Exactly. Everybody had a long face and get on angry, arguing with each other, ready to go for blows.
Yeah, man, it's a beautiful thing, man. It's a beautiful thing to watch, man. I'm telling you, Tim, I'm on the mindset, man. I don't think this series is gonna last long.
Okay.
I don't think it is, just because of the simple fact that our defense is just gonna be too much for Atlanta. I think we're gonna overwhelm them.
I hope so. And I'm anxious to see if, you know, this defense can really step up to another level in the playoffs.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because you say that because somebody put a comment in one of my comment sections was talking about how all teams step their game up defensively, right, in the playoffs. But I said, you know what? I said, if you haven't been playing defense, it's hard to just turn on a switch and go to a whole level like that. You know what I mean?
That is true. That is true.
Because it's all about progressions. If you haven't been doing it, whatever habits you've developed by now,
yep,
that's what you're going to carry into the playoffs.
Yep. Exactly. That's exactly what you're going to carry into the playoffs, man. Because you've been doing whatever that habit is, you've been doing it all season long. So you can come up with as many schemes as you want to.
Exactly. And I'm going to tell you, I think the curveballs that they're going to see tomorrow night, I think they're going to see a lot of Frank, man. I'm predicting Frank going to get 15 to 20 minutes, man. I think he's going to be that guy, and I think this series is going to really tell us Frank's future in New York, and I think he has one. I think this is going to solidify the front office and say, hey, you know what? We're gonna have to bring this guy back. But I think it was about business on why everybody tend to think, Frank wasn't re-signed, right? But at Frank's production, there's no way you was gonna pick up that extension for no $8 million. You know what I mean? It's business.
Right.
So the best thing to do is to let it play out and bring him back at the end of the season after, you know, he tests the market or whatever. Let the market dictate. And that's why I'm glad we got Leon Rose, man, because that guy knows business.
Say it again, Ron. Say it again.
hey, Tim, you heard Clyde theme music?
Yeah.
Hey.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah, boy.
Hey, Ron, welcome home, brother. Welcome home.
Where's Clyde? Wine and dine. Every time I see Clyde, man, hey, Sim, lately that song just been playing in my head, man.
That's a cool
Clyde
dude, man.
Music, man.
That's a cool dude, man. Clyde is a cool dude. Hey, Ron, I appreciate you, man. I'm getting ready to head off. You know, we got some business to talk. Then I'm gonna watch this Lakers game. So I appreciate you calling in, man. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah, man. I'm definitely watching, man. I'm glad I wasn't on so I could get on and talk with your partner like old times. You feel me?
Yeah, man. I appreciate it, man. It's always a treat, man.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, we are back. You heard me?
That's it.
That's
we
right.
back.
That's right, Ron. That's
We all
right. That's
back.
right. Take it easy, Ron.
Appreciate you, man. All right, Kev. Go ahead, man. Get your last words in.
Hey, Ron's already said it for me.
Okay.
Ron already said it for me. I'm just happy. Around this time last year, we were talking about who we were going to look for in the draft. And now it's like we've done that for years of who we're going to look for in the draft. Now it's like, how are we going to attack this team? And it's Steph is giving them 6. I think we could sweep them. I think we could sweep them.
Okay.
I really do.
All right.
Really do.
Let's see what's up. Okay. All right. Let me come down here to Evergreen. Oh, and you know, Kev, when Ron started singing, my numbers went up. Just saying.
I can't win, man. I feel like
They
that
went
song.
off.
I feel like that song by Michael Jackson and the Wiz. You can't win. You can't win. I can't win. I can't win.
Evergreen, go ahead, man.
I got 4 words, Tim. FIBA, Frank, and 4.
I like that.
All right.
Yeah,
All right.
FIBA, Frank, and 4. That's
Even
it.
Frank
That's
and
the new
four.
chant.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to revolutionize that. We're gonna get some people. If Frank get in the game, I need y'all to start chanting FIBA Frank, FIBA Frank.
FIBA Frank.
You know what I mean? And then put gas his head up. Gas my man head up. Gas Frank head up.
Yeah.
You know, I want him to be the longest tenured Knick. I want him to continue to be the longest tenured Knick.
Yeah.
And I want him on a contract, you know, and I think they value him. So let's get Frank a contract. Let's gas his head up so he can play well for us, so that he could be that journeyman. He could be that Tony Snell, that Tony Allen.
Yeah.
You know, he could be that Bruce Bowen guy that, you know, stays in an organization for 35 years and never leaves the team. And you know what I mean? Like, that's what we want, you know. And I think Frank has got the opportunity to do that for this Knicks team. And at least if he signs for another, you know, 2 or 3 year deal, some people will shut up about him, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
I think he's hungry too. I think he's hungry. That now that he's in the playoffs, I think he wants to really show what he do when he gets the opportunity. And
right.
Well, you know,
FIBA
if he shows up big time, and I'm not talking about points, you know, but just shows up with what he does in the playoffs.
Right.
You know, there'll be a lot of people that say, yeah, keep that guy around. Tony, some last words?
I'm gonna say gentleman's sweep. So Knicks in 5.
I like that.
You know, they'll squeeze a game, and Atlanta will squeeze a game on their home court. But yeah, man, let's get excited. One correction I want to make: this time last year, a lot of y'all was talking about how we gotta get rid of Randle.
Yeah, ain't no doubt about that. A lot of people.
I was one of those people. I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those people.
A lot of people.
For about 3 weeks.
All right, well, Kev, you're not allowed to officially jump on the bandwagon until next season. You still got to hold
For
that
real.
L for
Yeah, for real. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Your blackest time.
No doubt. I appreciate you, man. Go watch that Lakers and Warriors tomorrow night, 8:30. You know, we're gonna do some more. We're gonna break down, look at some film and stuff like that, and break it down. So appreciate you all. We out of here, ladies and gentlemen.